Symbols surround us. We see them every day, on dollar bills, on corporate logos, even in the architecture of our cities. But few of us stop to ask, where do these symbols come from? What do they mean? And why do they matter? Albert Pike believed that symbols were the very language of hidden wisdom. In his book Morals and Dogma, he wrote that Masonry was a system of morality, veiled in allegory and illustrated by symbols. To him, the symbols were not decorations. They were keys. Tonight, we're going to decode some of them. Before we open the vault, take a moment to subscribe to Occultus and ring the bell. This channel exists to illuminate hidden knowledge, and every like helps more seekers discover it. So let's begin with the most famous Masonic emblem, the square and compass. At first glance, they look like tools of architecture. And that's true. But Pike insisted they were more than that. The square represents morality, fairness, the foundation of character. The compass represents spirit, restraint, the circle of the divine. Together, they symbolize the harmony between matter and spirit, earth and heaven, human and divine. Next, the pillars. In Masonic lodges, you often see two great pillars named Jachin and Boaz. Pike traced them back to the Temple of Solomon and even further, to Egyptian obelisks and ancient temples. For him, the pillars were opposites: strength and stability, darkness and light, male and female. To pass between them was to enter the mystery. To balance them was to find wisdom. The blazing star is another. Often depicted as a radiant pentagram, Pike explained that it was not a sinister emblem, as some critics have claimed, but a symbol of divine truth shining in the heart of the initiate. For him, the star represented the soul's potential, light in the midst of darkness. And then there is the all-seeing eye. Today, it is surrounded by conspiracy theories, but Pike called it the Eye of Providence, the symbol of divine consciousness, the watchful presence of truth. It was not meant to frighten, it was meant to awaken, to remind the initiate that nothing in the universe is hidden from the higher law. Now, what made Pike unique was not that he listed symbols, but that he connected them. He showed how Masonic emblems echoed Egyptian hieroglyphs, Greek mysteries, Kabbalistic diagrams, and Christian imagery. He saw symbols as a universal language. Different cultures spoke it differently, but the meaning was one: the journey of the soul from ignorance to illumination. Think of the checkerboard floor, the black and white tiles often seen in lodges. For Pike, it symbolized duality, the interwoven nature of light and dark, good and evil, spirit and matter. Walking upon it was a reminder: life is not one color, it is a balance of opposites. Now let's pause for a moment. Tell me in the comments, which of these symbols fascinates you the most? The square and compass, the pillars, the blazing star, or the all-seeing eye? And here is a whisper for the serious seekers: Pike's Morals and Dogma is not easy to read. Many start it and never finish. That's why some guides have been created to decode it. One of them is Morals and Dogma Decoded, Freemasonry's hidden wisdom unveiled. It doesn't replace Pike's masterpiece. It acts as a lantern in the labyrinth. If you're curious, I'll leave the link in the description and in the first comment. Now, back to the symbols. Pike explained that Masonry inherited its imagery not from one source, but from many. From Egypt came the obelisks, the winged sun, the scarab. From Greece came Pythagoras' sacred geometry. From the Hebrews came the Kabbalistic tree of life. From Christianity came the cross and the resurrection. What united them all was not dogma, but archetype. The same truths expressed in different costumes. Take geometry, for example. To Pike, geometry was sacred because it mirrored the order of the universe. The triangle represented the trinity of mind, body, and spirit. The circle represented eternity. The square represented the foundation. To study geometry was to study the mind of God. He also spoke of numbers. 3 was the divine triad. 4 was the material world, the elements. 7 was perfection, the union of spirit and matter. Pike believed that numbers themselves were symbolic, carrying truths beyond words. And then there was light. For Pike, light was the supreme symbol. It was knowledge, truth, divinity. Every degree of Masonry was described as a journey toward more light. And in this, Pike echoed the Hermeticists, the Gnostics, the mystics of every tradition. Critics, of course, accused him of being obscure, but Pike defended himself by saying that truth cannot be handed over in plain speech. It must be sought. It must be wrestled with. That is the role of symbols, to provoke, to conceal, to reveal only when the seeker is ready. This is why Morals and Dogma has endured, because it's not just a book, it's a symbolic initiation. The deeper you look, the more it reveals. So, what can we learn from Pike's symbols today? We live in a world drowning in images, logos, memes, icons. But Pike reminds us, symbols are not just decoration. They are power. They shape our subconscious. They carry archetypal truths. Learning to read them is not optional. It's essential. And here is the deeper secret. Pike's book is not only about Freemasonry, it is about you. The square and compass are your mind and heart. The pillars are your opposites, your strengths and weaknesses. The blazing star is your soul. The all-seeing eye is your own higher consciousness, watching, guiding, judging. When you begin to see the symbols this way, the world itself becomes a lodge. Every street sign, every logo, every story carries meaning. Life becomes a symbolic initiation. So, do you see why Pike hid his wisdom in allegory? Because to hand it over plainly would be to kill it. The symbol is alive. It breathes. It grows with you. And that S, why Morals and Dogma, is still called one of the most forbidden books of all time. Not because of what it says, but because of what it awakens. If this exploration spoke to you, share it with a friend who loves mysteries. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts below. We're building a community of seekers, one symbol at a time. In our next video, we'll go even deeper, exploring Pike's philosophy of light, morality, and the misunderstood figure of Lucifer. Prepare yourself. It's one of the most controversial parts of his work. Until then, remember, knowledge is power, but hidden knowledge is transformation. Welcome to Occultus.